Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where we're part of the ELCA. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. There's a game that was popular a few years ago called 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon, in case you don't remember, has been in a lot of movies, and the game is to connect any other actor to Kevin Bacon within 7 steps. For example, Sean Connery was in a movie with Kate Blanchett, who was in a movie with Hugh Jackman, who was in a movie with Kevin Bacon. That connects Sean Connery with Kevin Bacon in 3 steps. Now, frankly, I don't play the game that way, but I do sometimes think of my friend Jerry this way. You see, Jerry was a photographer for National Geographic, and the list of people he has met and connected with is astounding. Jerry knew Jacques Cousteau, Bob Ballard, who found the Titanic, John Glenn, Jane Goodall, Henry Kissinger, Gerald Ford, and the actor who played Otis on Andy Griffith's show. Truthfully, that really just scratches the surface of the list of significant people Jerry knew. I know Jerry, and in the terms of that game, that puts me only 1 degree of separation from these people. That sometimes amazes me at how small the world is. We are closely connected. Our theme for this week is to look at some Advent prophecies, particularly in the Old Testament. Advent is a time of expectation, and these prophecies had promises and were spoken and given sometimes centuries before Jesus was born. They were received in a time of need and expectation, and the people who heard them were eager and longing for a Savior. Today we turn once again to a prophecy of Isaiah. First, let's talk about the situation Isaiah was speaking to. When he gave this particular prophecy, Israel was in a state of political turmoil. Things were falling apart, and the king was leading the people away from God instead of toward God like he was supposed to. Society was chaotic and struggling, and the people were longing for relief. That's when God told Isaiah to go out to a certain field where he would encounter the king. And sure enough, they met face to face. The king knew that Isaiah was God's prophet, and Isaiah told the king to ask God for a sign about all the troubles. But the king refused. That's when Isaiah said, "Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals that you also weary my God? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child, and shall bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel." Now, one of the amazing things about prophecy is that something spoken that has meaning in one time period can be taken by God and applied elsewhere. What I mean is that Isaiah was likely telling the king to straighten up and lead people God's way, and that if he didn't, then God was going to fix it God's way. A baby was about to be born that would take the king's place and lead God's people back to God. But now, centuries later, we know that there was a deeper meaning to this prophecy. As Isaiah spoke about a king in his time, God meant also the king for all time. Isaiah prophesied about Jesus. The most significant part of the passage is the name the child would be called, Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Isaiah's words come true, there will be 0 degrees of separation from God's people and God. My favorite Christmas book has a simple and poignant title, God Came Near. What more could we want? This is a profoundly comforting passage. In Isaiah's time, it was a time of anxiety about the world, and the prophecy was that God would be present with them in the midst of that fear. That's a prophecy that we need and that still stands today. In all the chaos of our world, God is with us. God is near. In Isaiah's time, the prophecy pointed to the miraculous nature of God's salvation. It would be God who sent the child to save them. That's true today for us in Jesus. In Isaiah's time, God promised to enter their history and act to save them. That's the promise we have here and now with Jesus. Maybe you remember the passage in the first chapter of the Gospel of John where it says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." To dwell means to abide with, to come and stay. That's what God does. God chooses not to remain distant. Jesus reveals God's heart in human form, seeable, knowable, touchable, one with us, one of us. God is not far off, distant, and removed from us. God is Emmanuel, with us right here, right now. We're playing a game with Kevin Bacon, but God's not playing games. God is with us and comes to save. That's the promise. That's the gift. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.